Welcome into Seahawks Today. I'm your host, Will Ortner, and sometimes I like to go on Twitter. And when I'm scrolling through Twitter, I find some video ideas, and I thought this was a great one from Hawk Blogger, a well-known Seattle Seahawks reporter, beat reporter, does a great job. And he was going through some players that he wanted John Schneider, the GM of the Seattle Seahawks, to reach out to opposing teams about potentially making a trade for before the deadline. And I really wanted to hone in on the offensive line play here. So we're going to do that on today's video. But before we do you think that the Seattle Seahawks should trade for a player to be added to this team? You're going to comment yes down below, or you're going to comment no. If you like the trade, you're going to comment yes. If you hate the trade idea, you're going to comment no. So I expect John Schneider to be on the phone pretty regularly for the next couple of weeks when it comes to your Seattle Seahawks. Now, everybody and their mother here at Chat Sports has been doing a video this week on Riq Woolen. Will he be traded? What can he be moved on from? Will Seattle move on from him? I don't know after some of the issues that you saw in the secondary the other day. But what I'm seeing in Seattle is maybe you can use some trade pieces to bring in some offensive line help. Now, it feels pretty good in Seattle to be able to say, hey, the Seahawks don't need to bring anyone on the tackle spots, but if they were to bring someone in, it would be on the interior side of the offensive line. And I don't mean to call this player out, but I was looking through the PFF grades, and frankly, this was alarming. Anthony Bradford is, he's not the most beloved Seattle Seahawk of all time, and after a very good performance in his first week against the 49ers, it's clear that he is struggling. Now, when it comes to his run blocking grades, they are much higher than his pass pro. That's where when you go onto Twitter, you'll see a lot of those mistakes that Mr. Bradford has kind of pop up there as well. Right now, Anthony Bradford is graded as the 69th PFF guard in the NFL. The other issue, Jalen Sundell, your center, well, he's the 31st center graded out. So if Seattle was going to make an improvement, it would be right over there on the interior of the offensive line. That's bad. When you look at Anthony Bradford's grades, they are not good right now. Is there a chance that Seattle can speed up some of the improvement that we've seen from this offensive line? It's getting a little bit better, but is it possible that it can get jumps and leaps better sooner rather than later? When we look at this offensive line, the first kind of thought that I had was, is there an opportunity for you to improve this offensive line in-house? Can Jalen Sundell bounce out to that right guard spot? Can you bump up Olu Oluwatimi into that center spot, which has always been kind of, hey, if there's an injury on the interior, that's what would happen? Is that a way to kind of fix what's been going on with this offensive line? Sure, that is an opportunity, but I thought it might be fun to look at some possible trade candidates that you could go after. The first player that I want to look at is in New Orleans, and that's their center, Erik McCoy. You can see him here, big, strong, physical, the type of offensive lineman that you want, mean. He's played in all of the New Orleans Saints games this year, and when you look at McCoy, I think he fits the Seahawks pretty well, right? He's not a gigantic center in the sense of he's not going to weigh 320 pounds, which is perfect for this Kubiak system. You need someone to get out and move. That's why Sundell is perfect for that center spot, because he's quick enough in those long zone schemes to run out, get the reach on a defensive tackle, or get up to the linebacker in the backside cutoff. You're seeing Kenneth Walker have big explosive runs when Sunday's able to get there. Now, that doesn't always happen. But I think what's most important when it comes to McCoy is how well he performs in pass pro, because that's what you're missing right now. No one has ever come out and said, hey, that right guard spot, Anthony Bradford, struggles when it comes to run blocking. No, the kid's freaking strong. He's big, he's physical, he's mean, he gets road grading. But when it comes to his pass protection, that's where you see the plays where he's looking like this right at Sam Darnold. That's not a good thing. Erik McCoy doesn't have that issue. He's only allowed 2 pressures in his 197 pass blocking snaps this season. Obviously, if you brought him in, then there would be a conversation of who ends up becoming that starter at right guard. McCoy would instantly go into that center spot. I love the idea of trading for Erik McCoy. I think he would come in and instantly become a starter and instantly take this offensive line to the next level. I was so excited today that once I did my research on McCoy, I went over to Chat Sports host Trace Gerard, who is our Saints Now host. And as soon as I asked, would New Orleans trade McCoy, he said some words that, well, frankly, I just can't say them here on this video. No, I don't think the New Orleans Saints are going to trade McCoy. When you have a beat reporter as glued in as Gerard is here at Chat Sports, he's going to know the pulse of the team. I'll tell you right now, it doesn't look like they're going to be willing to move on. Does that mean John Schneider shouldn't call? No, of course not. He should make the call. Make them tell you no. But I don't think you're going to see Erik McCoy in a Seattle Seahawks uniform. We're going to get into some other trade candidates, but I want to know your opinion on this. I think that the Seattle Seahawks would be 5-0 if they just had one different player. If they had one player come in, and it could be a game changer on offense, it could be a game changer on defense, and this team would be 5-0 right now. Is that a true statement or a false statement? Let me know down below in the comments. We're going to get into more here in just a second, but first I got to tell you about our good friends over at PrizePicks. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. PrizePicks is simple to play. Just pick more or less on any 2 to 6 player stat projections, and if your picks are right, you could cash in. PrizePicks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. PrizePicks is the best way to win cash this football season. Which players are going off? Which ones are overhyped? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your takes into cash all season long on PrizePicks. You're going to want to make sure that you go in and download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. You can see my 2-pick power play for this Sunday. Sam Darnold, more passing yards. Daniel Jones, more passing yards against the Arizona Cardinals. You can obviously tail me or you can fade me, but you're going to want to make sure that you do that over at PrizePicks. Remember, use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. Next, we're going to look over at Aaron Brewer. Now, for those of you who don't know, Brewer is kind of an underdog story, a player that, wasn't super highly sought out of college, and then he's turned himself into being one of the better players in his position, right? Now, Brewer would be someone that I would love for Seattle to bring in. He's a fast, strong, physical center. Right now, he's ranked as one of the top guys according to PFF. But again, there is some issues when it comes to trying to get Brewer into Seattle, and that's I don't see a world where Miami moves on from him. When you have the number 2 rated center in PFF, I have my issues with PFF too. Don't get me wrong. PFF is not the end-all, be-all. But if you're in the top half of the league, according to PFF, I'll tell you right now, that's probably right or close enough. And so when you have a guy who in his position room is the second best in the entire NFL, in a position that is as important as center to a team, there is no way that you can move on from him even if Miami decides to blow it up. Even if Miami decides to fire the head coach, get rid of Tua, get rid of all the receivers that they have, right? You still have to keep a center like Brewer on your squad. The way that he's playing right now, that is a leader. That is a guy that you can build a franchise around in the running game. That is a guy that you need in your locker room. I know the offensive linemen don't get the love that they deserve, having been one of them. But when you have a center that's making plays the way that Brewer is, you got to find a way to keep him. I would love for him to end up in Seattle. I don't really see it being a possibility for you. Now, there were a couple of players from the Browns on there that Hawk Blogger had put out. Now, those guys are Wyatt Teller and Joel Bitonio. 2 really good offensive guards. Right now, Bitonio is one of the top guards in the entire National Football League when it comes to PFF. Teller's a little bit lower, but Teller's a little bit younger. So for me, I think it would be easier for you to go and get Joel Bitonio. I think that trade piece isn't going to be as big of an asking price as it would be to go and get Teller. The reason for that, Bitonio's old, man. He's been in the NFL a long time. And while I would love Seattle to go and make an instant upgrade at that guard position right now, I don't know that I'm willing to go and grab Bitonio because I don't think he's going to be here for very long. And I don't know that your Seahawks are one offensive guard away from being a Super Bowl winner, right? I still think that this team is really good. I think that this is a team that can win the NFC West. I still think that this team, when fully healthy, if things go the right way, maybe you do end up in an NFC championship game. Maybe you do end up in a Super Bowl. Crazier things have happened before. But I don't know that I'm willing to risk all of that by going and getting an aging guard, no matter how well he's playing. Now, if Teller wants to come to Seattle, that's a different story I'd be willing to listen to. Will John Schneider make a move at the deadline? I don't know, Jim, to quote Tony Romo. I would like to think that he makes a move to help this offensive line. It feels like you're on the right track. Everybody is improving, but hey, the old saying is iron sharpens iron. Maybe you go out and you grab a guard, bring them in, and now all of a sudden, Sundell, Oluwatimi, and Anthony Bradford are competing against another piece, right? I think it's become clear that Christian Haynes is not going to be the answer for Seattle. So, you either need to be willing to kind of have the mistakes that you've had so far that frankly I think are unacceptable, or you can go and make a move. I think now might be the perfect time. Maybe you can find a team that's selling pretty low on a player. You can turn them into a pretty high reward for your team. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're going to be breaking down any of the trade rumors or news that's coming out about your Seattle Seahawks here on the channel every single day, all the way up until the trade deadline. We'll keep breaking down the news all the way through the entire 2025 Seattle Seahawks football season. Until next time, I'll see you later.